Hi, this is Catie Harris, and this is an episode of the NursePreneurs podcast. And today we have Corey Walker on with us, who is the marketing specialist. So really excited to talk about this topic, which is Instagram, and everybody needs this. So definitely listen up. But Corey, thanks so much for being here with us today.
Of course, glad to be here.
Awesome. So why don't you give us a little bit of background about you, and then we'll come into how you wrote all of these books, and now you know so much about Instagram. But how did you get started?
Yeah, so a little bit about me. I am the co-author of Instagram for Dummies and Instagram for Business for Dummies. And then I also have a social media marketing agency. I've had the marketing agency for 19 years, and it's kind of gone into social media marketing as all of marketing has kind of shifted that way. Yeah, so I started off working for an advertising agency way back in the day. I've worked in corporate marketing. And then once I had my first daughter, I decided that I wanted to try going out on my own so I'd have a little bit more flexibility in my schedule.
So how
Yeah.
was it different going from, I mean, what does corporate marketing look like compared to what you got yourself into?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I always had a boss. So I had someone telling me what to do and giving me feedback. So that's probably the first thing that you encounter on your own is just that, okay, no one's telling you what to do. You're completely on your own. You have to go get your work instead of having it brought to you. Um, and yeah, you don't get that feedback. You don't get those attaboys. So you're a lone wolf for a bit. So it depends on the type of person you are, whether that works for you or not. And luckily it worked for me, and I made it work, and it did definitely drive me harder because there's no paycheck if you're not actively pursuing clients and doing work with clients. So
Right. So when you started your business, I mean, what was your idea for the business? How did that get started?
yeah, so initially I thought, well, maybe I'll be a virtual assistant. And then I thought, well, I have all of this marketing experience. All of my jobs before were marketing roles. So I said, well, a virtual assistant probably wouldn't make as much as, a marketing consultant. So a lot of the jobs that I had, my title was the marketing specialist. So that's why I titled my business the marketing specialist. Yeah, so I just started that way.
Okay. And where did you find your first clients?
Well, I had an old job that I used to work with. I had a lot of people that I still worked with over there. And so they brought me on doing some contract work. And then I joined some networking groups. I joined the local chamber of commerce and really just started getting out there, meeting people, introducing myself in the community. And that's how it grew. But a lot of it, yeah, was referrals in the beginning.
Okay. And then I mean, how did you get into Instagram?
So I started using Instagram personally at first, just more for fun. And then I saw that businesses were starting to use it to market themselves. So I started putting my services out there, and was getting a lot of feedback. And in the early days of Instagram, when you put something out there, people saw it more, and you could connect with people more. And I had a nice little community of people, and we would talk back and forth. Um, so that's how I started. And then once I saw that it was a viable solution for businesses, I started putting some of my clients on it and advising them and giving them strategy on how to use Instagram for their businesses.
Okay. So Instagram's only been around since 2010, right? It,
Yes, it's been at least 10 years. I should know this, but
so
but yeah,
your
it's
business
been
started before Instagram.
what's that?
Your business started before Instagram. Oh,
Yeah, so my business did start before Instagram. And in the beginning, I was doing more print work. So I did newsletters for people, I did
remember those?
direct mail.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a lot of, flyers, brochures, business cards, and then started doing email marketing. And then really the first social media that I was on was Facebook. So I did some marketing on Facebook for people, and I still do that. I mean, I'm very multi-platform, so I don't just work in Instagram. But yeah, definitely I was doing print and all of that, and it all shifted over to social media.
So now, did you have a big following, or did you just have an engaged following? How did you build the community on Instagram?
Yeah, so in the very beginning, I had, I would say, more of a small but mighty engaged community, which still I think is the way to go. If you have, you can have 10,000 people, you can have 100,000 people, but if they're not really engaged with what you're doing, they're not serving you that well.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely in the beginning, I had a smaller number of people, but they were very active. And a lot of us were other marketers or business owners, and we really traded a lot of our kind of best tips for making the platform work for us.
Okay, so how did you get into the Dummies book series?
I have a friend who has written several dummies books. My co-author, Eric Buto, and he had seen that I was doing a ton of stuff on Instagram, both personally for my business and for my clients. And so Wiley, the publisher of all the dummies books, had asked him, we really want to do an Instagram book, but we'll need a subject matter expert, because he wasn't really a subject matter expert. He's really good at writing dummies books. So he had asked me if I would like to do the book with him. And of course I said, yes, that would be amazing. So we started, and then we brought on Jen Herman. And so she wrote the first several books with us. The one that we just wrote and will be out December 5th. She was not part of that one. She's super crazy busy right now. So Eric and I did this last version. But yeah, that's the way it happened. And we are 5 editions strong. So we have 2 editions of Instagram for Dummies. And then the third edition of Instagram for Business for Dummies is the one that's coming out. Um, so yeah, it's been a fun ride. I think it's been about 7 years, and we do them kind of every year and a half or so. We'll do one or the other of them.
Yeah, and it's that's the thing about the publishing world, right? I have a textbook that I've written, and I feel like it takes like a year to like put it all together, and then the following year they're like, "Oh, it's time for a new edition." And I'm like, "What? Like, I need at least 5 years break from this book."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, just try doing that with social media when everything changes every day. And so we're writing it and things are changing. And I'm like, oh, that screenshot's not going to work anymore. So yeah, it's a rush to get it to the printer before things just completely go crazy and
Yeah,
change.
exactly. Okay, so which came first, the Instagram or Instagram for business?
Just the right. Oh, actually, no. The Instagram for Business for Dummies was the initial one, and then Instagram for Dummies came second.
Okay, this is a dumb question, but how are they different?
No, it's not a dumb question. People ask me that all the time. So, Instagram for Business for Dummies is really the one that's meant for business owners. So it has things in there, how to market using Instagram, how to do Facebook/Instagram ads, how to use hashtags to get seen more, how to do contests, all of those kinds of things. The Instagram for Dummies is really meant for anybody that wants to learn how to use Instagram. So it touches on some of those things, but it doesn't go into any of the ads or any of the things that you would need to really market your business. It's more um, going from, how to actually get the app itself, all the way through, posting a photo, posting a reel, that kind of thing, but just not not from the lens of using it as a marketing tool.
Okay. All right. And so you also have, is this a freebie on your website, how to create reels that convert?
Yeah, so that it's not a freebie. It's just it's an ebook that's available, and it's 28 pages full of ideas and best practices and how-tos for creating really good reels.
Okay. And you find that the reels, can you talk a little bit about reels and how they're good for businesses?
Sure. So reels are still the number one thing in the algorithm. So for people that are looking to increase their user base, increase eyeballs on all of their things, reels are the best bet to do all that. Instagram has been fighting off TikTok for years. And so they really put an emphasis on that. And it's just the way that a lot of people enjoy consuming content now. They like these short dopamine hits of videos where they don't have to read, and they can just get all their information in a big sound bite.
Okay. Did reels come out before TikTok, or did that come out as a response to TikTok?
Response.
Okay.
Yeah. There's one thing that Instagram is really good at, and then that's copying other apps that have something really cool. So, yeah, stories they stole from Snapchat, Reels is from TikTok, and
What
I
was that
guess
other one that was the audio thing that was popular during COVID? The
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
where did that go? That one I'm glad I never really glommed onto, because I could see the writing on the wall that it wasn't gonna stick, and it didn't.
yeah, well, that's the thing with social media, because by the time you sit around and wait to see if it's going to be any good, that moment is past that you could have like amassed all these. Because I did have a couple of friends that amassed like massive followers in Clubhouse, and now it's kind of like, well, that was a waste of time, but
But you don't know.
you don't know. Um, all right. What do you think like the next big thing Instagram is going to copy or come up with, or whatever?
Oh, that's a good question. They had IGTV a while back,
Is that
and they got rid
still
of
not a thing?
that.
Oh, they don't have that anymore? What?
No, they got rid of it. And IGTV was their attempt to copy YouTube.
Mhm.
And for whatever reason, it just never took off.
Mhm.
So I could see them trying to relaunch that some way. Um,
Yeah,
they
I feel like the problem with that is that, Instagram's obviously not an SEO driven, format. So it would be hard to like find videos that you want to watch, especially if they're long form, without scrolling through somebody's uh, feed like just endlessly. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong about
Well, that's changed.
that.
So it used to be that way, that there wasn't a lot of SEO, but they have ramped up a lot of their SEO. So your not your username, but the other name that goes on your profile, that's searchable. A lot of the content in your bio is now searchable, and they even use um, your caption. That information in there is searchable, as well as you always have the hashtags to fall back on. um, so they do have a lot more of that SEO component built in that could support something more like what YouTube does. So I don't know. I haven't heard that they're going to do that, but I wouldn't be surprised if they figure out a way to to get that going again.
Right. Well, I think I need to put a little more effort into my bio and captions then if it's all searchable.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, definitely. Your yeah, not your username, but the other name. I don't know what they call that name, but that one is definitely searchable. So
Okay.
yes.
What are some more effective ways of using Instagram, like especially for somebody who's getting started? Because there's nothing worse than working with a blank Instagram, platform. Like, what would be like the top things that you would tell somebody to get started on Instagram?
Yeah, if somebody wants a good strategy and are willing to put some time into it, I like to say that Instagram can be used like a funnel. And so at the top of your funnel is going to be your reels, and reels are usually shown to the most amount of people and the widest, audience of people. So you can show those out there and have just like a little sound bite, get people interested in what you're talking about. And then you move them further down the funnel and they will go to your regular feed, where you can have some good carousels in there and some other, just regular content with graphics or with photos and text. Then move on over to the stories. And stories, if you can use them where you're showing more behind the scenes, showing a little bit more about you, that ups your know, like, and trust factor. And if you can post them, a few times a day, that would be amazing. And then finally, I have people do a live, especially if they're trying to sell something. A live can be a great way to, get out there, talk directly to your audience, and then you have two-way communication because they can ask you questions live and you can answer them. Or if you have a product, you can demonstrate it. So I like to kind of seal that relationship with a live broadcast.
Hmm.
So that's a lot of it, but I always the first part before anyone starts creating content, I always tell people they need to really get to know their key target audience and take a look at who that ideal client is. So, if you're running a med spa and your ideal unicorn client is, a woman that is 55 years old and she works full time and likes to go to the gym on the weekends, get dialed into what that person likes and what type of content they like to see, the way they like to see it. That is your very first step before you start posting anything out there online.
Okay. You said lives, and I had this flashback because I do live webinars all the time, for years, and never had a problem with it. And then one day I'm like, I'm going to go on live on Instagram, and I went on, and it was like, I was so terrified, like I was like sweating. I don't know what happened. Like you can't even see anybody. So I was just like talking to myself. I'm seeing myself, and it freaked me out. Like I never went back and did it again. Like I'm terrified of Instagram live, and I don't even know why. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I need to do more lives. I am not terrified by them, but for some reason, I think what I need to do is more lives where I have another person on so we can have a
Mhm.
conversation like we're having now. I think I always think of lives where I'm just going to go out there and talk and then I'm going to run out of things to say. But if you have another person and you have kind of a list of questions, you could do it that way and it's a little less intimidating, I think.
Well, I don't think I realized you could have a live with another person. How do they log? That's weird. How do you log in?
So one person starts it and then you invite them on and it will send them a little message and say, hey, Corey wants you to come on. Do you accept? And then it puts you on split screen like this.
Oh, fun.
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to, we should have done this on Instagram
we
then.
could have. Yeah.
Is there a time limit for lives?
It's 60 minutes.
Okay, so well, yeah, okay. If I'm by myself, I'm not talking for 60 minutes.
Yeah.
They made it
Yeah.
through 60 seconds. Okay, but I actually could do a podcast on Instagram Live. Oh, that's
Yeah,
exciting.
definitely. The nice thing too is that when you go live, your followers, they'll see it. You know how there's the stories bubbles at the top of your feed?
Hmm.
It'll say live, and then for a lot of people, it'll send out a notification that says, Corey's going live right now. If
Okay.
you if you selected to get those notifications from that person, but it's definitely up at the top. You'll see a little thing that says live. So that's always nice too.
So, what is your kind of feeling or opinion about more curated, perfectly looking Instagram accounts versus, I don't know, just not curated accounts or accounts that maybe look, less.
Yes, it used to be that was the thing. Probably, I don't know, at this point, maybe 6 years ago. Um, the perfect feed where everything was the same color and the backgrounds were the same and it was all graphics and maybe some text. That has gone by the wayside, and I think a lot of that is because video has gotten so big. So it's harder to, I mean, you can put a cover over your video to make it look all, but I think in general, most people on social media are getting more authentic, more raw, more vulnerable. So a lot of that has gone away in favor of doing more video and just being more worried about being present versus looking, perfect way. So if somebody's intimidated by putting stuff out there because they think, "Oh, I can't do the perfect graphics and all that," that's not really the mood that's out there anymore. And if you're really looking for that, you can still go to Canva and, use a template. I don't recommend that because it's pretty boring and, just basic graphics. No one really
Right.
is
Yeah.
intrigued by that anymore.
Yeah, and it's a conversation I had with my team as well because I'm like, we have all these like really, and they're beautiful, they're very nice looking and stuff, and I'm like, but I don't like it. Like we need more pictures of us on Instagram as opposed to all these like cute posts or really like stylish stuff. I'm like, this just isn't. It's not working for me.
It doesn't fly anymore. And I will say I have a lot of clients, and anytime I have them do like staff spotlights, those immediately get so much engagement.
Hmm.
So I have a client that's a small medical, a small health clinic, a rural health clinic. And so they have probably about 30 people that work there. And so every other Friday for a while, we were doing a spotlight on, an MA or a nurse or one of the doctors. And people love it. And you get so much response saying, "Oh, Susie was just so amazing with my mom last year. She had cancer," stuff like that. So anytime you can get the people behind your business out front, it usually goes really well.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. The other question I had too was, and I've made this mistake, and I don't know why it happens, but sometimes I'll upload a video and it's just like a black screen. So, does that happen to you, or is that just me? It just, it's like, it's like the video hasn't. So you can't even tell that the video needs to be started. It's just a black screen, and no, like
Oh,
I'm
yeah, that's probably
contributing to like.
something that you can change the thumbnail. If you're talking about on Instagram, you can change the cover so you can scoot the part of the video that it's using as the cover. You can kind of scoot
Hmm,
that and then it'll pick a different photo. So it might be that you're just letting it start from the very beginning before the video is even started.
right. Okay.
So yeah, you just need to kind of scoot it to an active part of the video.
Yeah, I'm like, I need a 10-year-old to help me because this is like ridiculous. So, so do you think Instagram is the best app to use for marketing a small business?
Well, again, I like to go back to your target audience, and I can never say, oh, Instagram's the best, because if you're talking to kids that are 13 to 18, you might do better on TikTok.
Hmm.
If you're talking to people that are 75, you might do better on Facebook. So it really depends where your audience is. However, I will say that of all the different social media platforms out there, Instagram is one that has the greatest variety of people and ages. So Facebook is skewing more older. TikTok, of course, is skewing younger, but but Instagram stretches amongst all of them. So
Hmm.
I have, my kids are teens, 20s. They're on Instagram, and then my dad, who's 83, is on Instagram. So,
My dad
so
is
there is,
definitely not on Instagram.
yeah, there's a very a wide variety of people that are on there. So if you're looking for, one platform to really focus on, that might be a good spot for you. But again, going back to wherever your target audience is most is the best platform.
Okay, I'm sure you get this question a lot, but what is your recommended posting schedule? Like, is it something you post once a week, every day, a couple times a day? Like, what is the ideal for a business?
Yeah, I when I'm being very good, I like to post daily, and do a few stories. And when I post daily, I like to mix in some reels with that. However, I always say people need to go with what they can keep consistent. And if posting 3 times a week is something that you can keep consistent with, do that. If once a month is your consistency, you're not consistent. So, um, yeah, it really does need to be at least a couple times a week. It doesn't need to be, some people say, oh, I post, 3 or 4 times a day. And for your average human, that's not sustainable.
Mhm.
So I don't usually recommend that unless this person just goes nuts and can do that all the time. But most business owners don't have the time to do that. One thing I do help people with is creating content for their ideal audience. And I can, put together a full month worth of content and then have them review it and put it up there. Now, that doesn't include usually a lot of reels because I usually like that person to be in the reel. I mean,
Mhm.
it doesn't always have to be that way, but it helps. Um, so they usually do need to have some involvement, but I can take off some of the burden of that through some of the other posts as well.
Okay, and reels are 90 seconds, right?
Up to.
Up to 90
Yeah,
seconds.
they're up to 90 seconds, although some people do now have the ability for 3 minutes. I don't have it yet. Some of my friends that are in Australia, for some reason, a lot of times they roll out these things in Australia first. And so some people in Australia have it. And then I think some people in the US have up to 3 minutes. I don't have it yet, though.
Okay. And so basically, if you're doing, I've done some recordings on like my phone and thinking I'm going to put it on Instagram, and then it's like 91 seconds. So I'm like, oh, I'll just throw it on TikTok then. But so I guess it's just a matter of like making sure you get to the point. Like, how do you help people get a message across in 90 seconds?
Yeah, well, we would just look at the message and maybe script it out a little bit to take out some of the extra fluff.
Mhm.
Even 90 seconds can be long. I know it doesn't sound like 90 seconds is long, but people have a goldfish brain these days. And so when they're scrolling through on Instagram, TikTok, whatever, unless it's something that's really grabbing them in, if it's not over with in 30 seconds, a lot of times they bail.
Okay.
So if somebody has something they want to communicate and it is a longer thing, I might suggest breaking it up into 3 or 4 videos. And so the first video, you might say, I'm going to do a 4-part series on X. And then, and every day for the next 4 days, I'm going to talk to you about these different things. And so then it leaves them anticipating the next video, and it doesn't get them bored and get out of your longer video. And one of the problems with, so if you have a 90-second video and people only watch the 10 seconds of the beginning and bail, Instagram sees that as people don't really love this video, as
Mhm.
opposed to if you have a 30-second video and people watch all of it, they're going to start playing that more and more, and the algorithm will pick it up better because they say, oh, people watch this till the end, they must love it. So that's something to keep in mind that a lot of people don't always think about.
Okay. So it's not about stretching it out to 90 seconds. It's really about getting the point across as quickly as possible.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. And you don't have to, do dances or flips and stuff on Reels, right? Like you can just talk
No,
to.
I do not dance on Reels. Some people love to dance. Some people are really good at dancing. So I never say, don't dance, but it's definitely not a requirement. And it's gone. That's kind of gone away too. I mean, there's still definitely, TikTok dancing and all of that, but there was a year or two of time where all these business owners felt the need to dance, and it wasn't good. It wasn't cute because all of these people,
Look
I don't know. I
ridiculous.
didn't love it. Let's just say that.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any things that businesses should avoid doing other than dancing if they're not good dancers on Instagram?
I would say using really boring stock photos and then just not doing anything with it. Stock photos can have a place, but you need to dress it up with some other things, maybe put some of your branding around it. But in general, most people can spot a stock photo a mile away, and it's just not interesting.
Mhm.
It's not creative. Um, so anytime someone just has a bunch of stock photos out there, I usually say, yeah, no one cares. No one's going to read your thing even because they know it's a stock photo and it's really boring.
Right.
So say no to stock photos.
That's good advice. All right. So do you work with clients, or how do you work with clients?
Yeah, so I have a lot of different clients, actually in the healthcare space. So I work with them from everything from building a social media strategy to creating scripts for reels. If it's a local client, I will go out and help them film reels. I can also create content. Post content, do Facebook and Instagram ads. So I do all of that, and working within the strategy and working within whoever your target client is.
Okay. And I see you're in the greater Sacramento area. So that would
Yes.
exclude you
Yes.
coming on
So
to Philly to do my films.
yeah, probably that's a little far. I would do it if it was a fully expensed trip. But yeah, so most of that's local. So if anyone is interested in any of those services, it's at themarketingspecialist.com is where you can find me.
Awesome. What a great name, too.
It's just because I've had the website forever. People always ask me, how'd you get that website? I'm like, yeah, I've been doing this for a long time.
Exactly. Awesome. All right. So the marketingspecialist.com, and do you work with people one-on-one, or do you do groups or classes or anything like that?
So mostly one-on-one. I've been thinking about creating a membership where multiple people could be in there at once, and we would review all of their social media and materials. That hasn't come to fruition yet, but it's definitely on the table of something I'm looking at right now. But for
Awesome.
right now, it's just one-on-one. Yeah.
All right, guys. And so Corey's got a book called How to Create Reels That Convert. And she is also a co-author of Instagram and Instagram for Business. So the Dummies books, they can get online, Amazon, regular bookstores.
Yeah, so the books are all on Amazon. The latest edition of Instagram for Business for Dummies is on Amazon. However, it's in pre-order. It is officially available December 5th. I'm not sure when this podcast will come out, so maybe it'll be after that anyway. But yeah, everything's on Amazon at this time.
Awesome. Well, Corey, thank you so much for sharing this with us today.
Of course. Thanks for having me.